Welcome to Love on a Scale, America's first highest BMI dating show. Let's meet our first contestant, Diamond.
Holy moly!
Oh my God, it's so nice.
Look at the sign. Oh my God, it's so nice. We made it.
I mean, I've seen bigger pools, but it's nice.
Hi.
We got you a pizza. Yeah, a whole pizza for you. Yep.
A whole pizza for you?
All right, period.
Now let's meet the second lady contestant, Peachy.
Hi, I'm Peachy Garcia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, a Georgia Peach, and I am here to take it all. I'm here for the $10,000.
Yay. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you.
How are you?
Are you better than me?
Yeah, at eating ass.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? Hi, how are you? I got a pizza for you.
Hi. Oh my God. Oh, wait, for me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So for me, I'm Diamond. So hot. Thank you. Oh my God.
Now let's meet our third lady contestant, Pink.
Hi, I'm Pink, and I live in Tampa, but I grew up in Kentucky.
These some
And
big
I
women,
just
bro.
Cocoa, looking for my own iced tea. I think I'm a split it kind of girl.
Hey girl.
Hey, how are you? I'm good, I'm good. How are you doing? It's nice to meet you. Nice
She
to meet
got
you. I
one
have a
though, bro. I ain't
pizza for
gonna lie to you.
Just one?
you. Just one?
Just one.
Yeah, just one, sorry.
Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Diamond. We look like twins.
We do, Barbie.
I love my Barbie date. Yes.
Now let's
No hands, this don't make sense. How you say you cracking? So when I say that I want to crack big, thick African shit, right? But you want to crack some fat slop shit. So who really got pole for these bitches, bro? Cause like, come on, bro. You got a whole bunch of lard that's just coming up on that slop, bro. No, that's slop. You know, no, that's slop, bro. That's slop, bro. That's slop. So if I want to crack some shit that's built like Tim's and you want to crack some shit that's built like Larry the Lobster, bro, that don't make no sense, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. This what I want to crack. And we see what you wanted to crack, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on, gang. So like this right here, this is crazy. You tell me this is crazy because I wanted to. So I wanted to crack some shit like this. This is too much, right? Come on. This right here, this is too much. If I want to crack some shit that's built like this, huh? This is too much, huh? If I want to crack some shit that look like this is too much, huh? If I want to crack some shit that built like this is too much, huh? 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 Oh, okay. Nah. The one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about, bro. You got it. I think you wanted that much. All I wanted was some chill shit, bro. Nobody's hitting this, bro. Who's hitting this, bro? Who wants to hit this, bro? This is not what I want. Nobody wants some Gracie Bond, bro. Who the fuck want Gracie Bond? I don't want this. Nobody wants this. This bitch can't wipe her ass properly. Nobody wants this, bro. I want some natural shit, bro. This, like literally, bro. This right here, I'd marry this, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'd marry this. This exactly what I want, bro. Like, this will literally make me happy, bro, for like the rest of my life, bro. It's like some shit built like this. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like some shit built like this. I'm telling you, bro. This exactly what I want, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, so she a little chubby to it, but like, come on, bro. Like, this is why I call grown woman weight. The one I'm looking for, bro. This it. That's it, bro. You know what I'm saying? A little grown woman weight, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm looking for, bro. Cause when you be hugging and everything like that, you be cuddling, bro. You just feel so comfortable. You feel like you at home. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Nobody want that overly big BBL or anything like that, bro. Nobody wants that, bro. No, nobody wants that, bro. I just want some calm, you know what I'm saying, comfortable shit, bro. No. Bro, let me tell you, bro. Thames right here, bro. Thames, this my ideal woman, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. She knocks it out the gutter. This, if you want to say what's nicer type, this is nicer type right here, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. My type right here, bro. I ain't gonna lie, 100%, bro. This my type. What's her name? forgot her name. I ain't gonna lie to you. What's her name? My top right here, bro. In my top right here, bro. In my top right here, bro. I'm telling you, bro. This is my type. This is the archetype that Nytrsa is looking for, bro. Yeah, this is my type, bro. She look like a bug. You're about to fish. You're about to fish, bro. You're about to fish, bro. You're about to fish, bro. She's the one that made. Did she delete like her whole thing, bro? Like what the fuck? She's the one that made Body by Raven that all the girls be wearing and stuff like that, bro. Like pain, bro. Pain, bro. Like yeah, this my shit, bro. Like for real, bro. This the archetype that I want. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, nobody want that overly big. Overly, you know what I'm saying? Nobody want none of that, bro. We just want some calm, grown woman. You feel me? Like nobody want that overly excessive shit, bro. I just want a calm, grown woman. That's all, bro. That's it. If y'all want the BBW, bros, shit, y'all got it, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I think I'm over BBWs, bro. I'm over that, bro. They fire though, but I think I'm over it. I'm past the BBWs.
Let's meet our fourth and final lady contestant, G Mama.
Hi, my name is Gianna. I'm from Inglewood, Florida, but I live in the and I'm here to have a good time and win some money and grow bigger.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
It's nice to meet you. It's nice to
Okay, let me tell you something. The first three, crackable. First three is crackable, bro. The first one, second one, I would do it. Third one, I would definitely do it. But the fourth one, nah.
meet you. Heck yeah. I got a pizza for you.
Hell yeah.
Hey, Queen.
Hey.
You got pizza for everybody?
I'm Diamond. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to
I'm
meet y'all.
Peachy.
Bro, she got a triple pussy. What the fuck? She got one here and another one here, bro. Like, come on, gang. It's gonna take mountains to get into that pussy, boy. Hell no.
Come in.
Now that we have all the ladies here, let's meet our guys. First off, we have Will Kelly.
Will Kelly, Chicago, Illinois. I'm here to win some money.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Ideally, that's where this ends up. You know what I mean? I've not seen the women yet, but you know, if it's a warm mouth, Will Kelly's there. I like big bitches, bro. I'm a real lover boy. I love women. I love the way they smell.
I can't stand this nigga because this nigga be making videos talking about, oh, this is certain shit that I would eat, but I don't eat this shit no more because I be losing weight. And I sit here and I look at this nigga videos. I'm like, bro, when the fuck are you gonna lose weight? Cause he been making that type of content for 2 years now, bro, and he still hasn't lost weight, bro.
I love the way they taste. I love it when they're sleeping and you're watching them and they don't know. What up, baby?
Bro, how you doing?
What's up?
What up, dude?
How you feeling, man?
Yeah, man, how you
Bro, shit's so fucking bad. He's so fat, bro. Like the flap of his ass, it really can't even lock it in, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that? That's another layer of fat. Ew, bro. Bro, chat, don't get fat, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like, really, don't get fat, bro. He got lumps and lumps on his fucking back, bro. What the fuck? And he got a Hank Hill booty, bro. Like, this is all his ass right here, bro.
I'm good, bro.
I got a pizza for you.
Bro, I don't eat that poison no more.
Nah, I know
You
you
ain't
do.
seen me? Will Kelly wins millions of views. He's not.
She lying.
Shit, yeah.
He lying. When the camera's off, he gonna eat that pizza. He lying. When the camera's off, he gonna eat that pizza. I promise you, bro.
Don't eat that no more,
Yeah.
bro. Keep that.
Nah, you can take
Take
it.
it?
Yeah, yeah,
Alright.
just take the pizza. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Nice to meet you, G Mama. Hey. I saw you earlier, Peachy. You already know how I feel about you.
Will Kelly came in without a shirt on from the rib. I feel like that was a very bold move, and I can only respect the confidence.
I ain't gonna lie, she pretty. She real pretty. I feel like if she was skinny, she'd be bad as fuck, for real. I mean, it's not like she ain't bad right now, but like, you know, there's some people where like they get a little big and then they could like really go back to be like real skinny. I think she way too big that she gotta get liposuction or some shit like that. So yeah. Once you get that like that super duper belly, you know what I'm saying? It's over. You got to get that liposuction, bro. For real.
Peachy had the titties. What's your name?
Diamond.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
Like her, this one right here, she's savable, but she still got to get liposuction. Look at her arm. She got that chicken wing motherfucker.
I'm Will Kelly. I'm Pink. Nice to meet you. I gotta get a little close because you know other people are coming through, but we'll make room. We'll make room. All right, we can make space. I feel like we can make a lot of things.
Now let's meet the second gentleman of the evening, Zaire Gardner.
My name is Zaire Gardner. I am from New Jersey.
What the?
I was told it was fat camp.
Oh shit, this is better than fat camp.
People just told me it's like, I'm trying to find love. So I'm here to find love, you know, see what happens.
Woo! Oh, cheers, damn.
What up? Yeah.
Bro, not one person here is 110, bro. Like, not one person here is like under 200, bro. Like, I really feel like it's gluttonous all over my video, like all over my screen, bro. I never seen no shit like that. Everybody is fat, bro. I feel disgusted. I feel like I'm the skinniest nigga in the room.
How you doing, man? Yeah, you got 2 shirts on, you know that, right?
I got 2. Oh, my fault.
She said cheers.
For real, mama? There you go.
Oh, okay.
Certified torture pounder.
Total certified. I got a pizza for you.
But I don't know, looking at him, I feel like he bisexual. Like, I feel like he'll let a bitch put like a butt plug in his ass or something. I'm sorry, bro. It's something about that nigga that is not right to me, bro. He's weird.
Pizza from, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm on a diet.
You on a diet? You can take the pizza though.
Fever.
Yeah, it's terminal.
Oh, welcome to Korea. Damn.
How you doing? My name's Zaire. I want that pizza.
I know you do.
Nice to meet you, bro. Will Kelly.
You're the enemy right now.
The enemy?
You're the enemy.
Don't shake my hand, bro. That's some fake shit. I don't like that.
No, I'm kidding. We're talking about
Nah, bro. We ain't caring about
It's
that shit.
heating up.
Bro, keep that.
It's starting to get spicy.
What are you bringing to the show?
Dick.
Come here.
You see?
You said you was gonna sit on my lap.
Okay. Damn.
That's how we doing it.
Okay.
Oh shit, I see y'all feeling each other already.
Hey, yo, Diamond. Hold up. Put your arm around my head. You feeling me already? Damn, you feeling me already?
I mean,
Hey, cuz. And look, let me tell y'all something, bro. If you ever had like a big girl, bro, let me tell y'all something. If you ever had like a big girl, right, and you tell her to sit on you, bro, you know what I'm saying? Just know if she bigger than you, bro, and you try to, she gonna ask you, am I squishing you or some shit like that? She like, am I squishing you? Are you suffocating? Of course you gonna be like, no. I'm tired that shit fucking your leg up. I'm tired that shit butted, bro. Hey, bro, hell nah.
it's not like a lazy boy or anything, you know what I'm saying?
So,
But
nah, you're right. This is a lot harder. It's a lot harder than the lazy boy. I
it's comfortable or whatever.
Pinky, I hope you understand this
Why
don't
you gotta
have
push
nothing
on
to do
me?
with us, alright?
Oh my God.
I hate cuck niggas, bro. Say something, bro. Please say something, bro. This fat nigga getting all the attention from all 3 of the hoes, all 4 of the hoes, bro. You not saying nothing. You twisting your head, bro. Just because the nigga won't let you get a piece of pizza, bro, you need to get on some of the fat hoes, bro. Get with the Latina shit, bro. Tell her to come sit right next to you, man. Come see what daddy's about. You know what I'm saying? This fat white bitch came and sit on this fat nigga leg. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make one of these bitches do something, bro. Like, come on, bro. You talking about you come out here, you ready to give dick. It's not big dick energy, nigga. It's small dick energy. That's why I say he weird, bro. He look like a nigga that'll let a bitch put a butt plug in his ass. I'm telling you, bro. It's something wrong with these niggas, bro.
Yes.
Look, I believe there's enough loyalty all around.
I think so too.
Now let's meet our third gentleman, Garb.
My name is Garb. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm here because I'm fat
fucking
and I want 10
insane.
bands. So,
Guys, tell my mama I made
I find
it.
love along the way, you know. BW.
Yo, what's up?
Bro.
Are you the host or are you a contestant?
I'm the okay. Yeah, I'm a contestant too.
I'm Garb, the man of all your dreams.
Oh wait, Garb, hold on. I got a pizza for you.
Oh, pizza?
Hell yeah.
Oh, so he gets a pizza? What about the... See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, bro. This is what I'm talking about. You see how he comes out and everybody fucking with him, everything cool and shit like that, bro? And then the black nigga, he's lost. He's forgotten. Like, We really forgot that nigga's in the room right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God, you not gonna shake my hand, bro?
What's up?
Nah, bro, you dissed me earlier, bro. Keep that.
That's a little garbage in Japanese.
Nah, keep that, bro.
Oh my God, you're like Lil Peep. Oh, you look like Lil Peep.
Yeah, it's like a fat version.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you right. He is a carbon
I'm in
copy,
love
huh?
with the emo boy.
Pink probably caught my eye the most. She just has a super chill vibe, super relaxed.
You go, wait, you said what?
What?
What you just said?
What?
Hey, yo, Trey, get off my lap, bro. No more boy bit. Come on, boy
Okay.
bit.
Okay. Damn. It's fine.
It's cool. No, it is good.
It's fine.
No, it's good. It's 100% good.
It's fine.
It's 100% good.
Yeah, it's fine. You know what?
That's disrespect.
There's more than that.
I got
don't
room on
do
my
that, bro.
lap.
I was singing a song.
No, you were flirting.
No, I was not flirting.
Be accountable. You were flirting.
No, I was not flirting.
All right,
We
that's
just
cool.
met. I was saying, hey, what's up, hello?
So just me.
Oh my God.
You know what? I'm single.
Oh.
Good. And I'm not.
Anyhow.
Come here, Pinky.
What did y'all get together?
Hey,
That's what together. That's what I'm saying. I'm single. I'm looking to mingle. My name's Diamond. Nice to meet you.
So we're going to wait for the drum to end?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know about you, but I came here for love. Okay?
I came here for you.
No, you clearly came here to go around, which is fine. But that's not what I'm for.
Yeah, we got like 10 days. I'm getting to get to know everybody.
Okay, then go know them then.
Why are you starting drama like right now?
Shorty,
we still got one more to come up. Hey, wait. We still got one more to come up. Wait till I find my soldier.
Nigga just looking at the camera. Bitch, nigga, say something.
Are you gonna let him talk to me like that? Are you gonna let him talk to me like that? You're talking to you.
I came into this show really horny. I was looking for sex, love, mystery.
Oh my God, you were like looking that
Why are you giggling? Bring up the next soldier.
Yo, real quick, I think y'all are playing right now. I'm dead ass not playing, so let's chill out. Let's let the next person go. Like,
Y'all said let the next person come out? Brother, do y'all see this seating arrangement, bro? There's no more space for one more big person, bro. The nigga that's coming here has to weigh like a fucking feather, bro. There's no way that this next person is gonna fit on this couch. No bullshit. Bring that nigga out.
Zaire, bro, don't even start, bro. Don't even start. Cause you did that picture earlier, bro. Don't do that shit with me, bro. Don't do that shit with me. That's all I'm saying. Don't do that shit with me, bro. You started with me, bro. I'm not even playing with you, bro.
I don't know you.
We just met like 30 seconds ago.
You know me. I'm Diamond. I'm Diamond. Am I nervous?
Wait, who's Pink?
That's Pink.
Oh shit, how you doing, Pink?
Hi, Pink.
Now let's meet our final contestant of the
Now he's getting into it with the hoes. What the fuck, boy? Hey man, get the fuck out of here.
show. Yo.
My name is Yo-Yo. I'm from Highlands County, and I'm here for some black bitches, bro.
Fuck.
Yo, let me tell you something. There's no black bitches. It's nothing but fat white bitches, and they got one Hispanic shit. That's it, bro. There's no big black bitches, bro. I'm sorry, bro. Hey, but I feel like he's gonna crush all the hoes. I ain't gonna lie.
Too many different black girls.
Nice ass place.
I tried to get but they ain't no black bitches, bro. What the fuck, bro? Come on, bro. Fuck this shit, bro.
You can't have a show with fat people and not have at least one black bitch. Come on, bro. Let at least have one fat black bitch, bro. We need some ghetto-ness, bro. This shit not gonna last long, bro. Nobody like you need niggas to watch. You got one big black nigga, but you need one big black bitch. Come on, at least have one of them on there. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry about that, bro. I just lost my cool. My ex was black, and I just love black women so much. Black Lives Matter.
Yo.
What up? Yeah. How you doing,
Yeah,
man?
you need some of my Bambi or milkshake.
What up, man?
Yo, you're strong.
Yeah.
Sean, I got a pizza for you.
You are so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, you are so beautiful. Nice to meet you. Oh my gosh, you are such a beautiful queen. What's your name?
I'm Peachy.
Hi, Peachy. You're so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Next one.
I already set claim, bro. We good on that. Go to the next. We good on that.
You want her?
Bro, I want everybody, but this is mine.
What's your name?
Go.
I'm Pink.
Pink? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm looking for a soldier.
Oh, you can sit on my lap.
Whoa! Whoa!
I'm sitting here, bro.
Watch out! Don't let him try me. Don't let him try me.
Fine, sit on me, bro. Sit on me, bro. You just like one of my bitches.
I'll sit here.
You just like one of my bitches.
I'll sit here. What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the fuck?
You see what type of time we on?
I ain't complaining.
You see what type of time we on, bro?
Come here. Suck it.
Huh?
He said suck it? Go ahead, suck on it.
All these guys is fake.
Oh, what up, man?
I'm real.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Not even defending my honor. You always already L on the first impression.
Mamas, you don't got no honor. You don't got no honors, mamas.
I told you I needed a soldier. You let him disrespect me.
I can't fight for someone that I don't know.
Yeah, we do know each other, though.
What's my name?
We do know each other,
What's
though.
my name?
I don't have to say
Why
your
you
name.
so you don't know?
Your name is Baby. Baby to me. Future hubby.
Where's the food at?
I'm not about to go back and forth
Where the food
fighting.
at?
Why would I call you your government when you're my baby?
Oh, period.
I'm hungry.
I bet your ass.
I
bet you regret throwing that pizza.
Hey, you fat fuck.
Oh.
Bro.
Oh my God.
I'm a fat fuck?
Yeah.
You're a fat fuck.
I'm a fat fuck.
You're a fat fuck wearing pajamas.
He's a fat fuck.
You are a fat fuck. You are a fat fuck. Especially you.
Oh my God. I'm not gonna lie. Can we eliminate the black nigga already, bro? I feel like he has nothing to add to the show already, bro. He's already a cuck. He he has Hall of Fame intimidator right now, bro. Like, he's afraid to talk to the bitches, and the niggas that already come in here, bro, are already intimidating him. Like, he can't defend himself. It's over with, bro. Like, he has a very low self-demeanor.
We all know you're a fat fuck.
Hey, yo, my nigga, I don't even play like that.
Whoa.
I don't even play like that.
Oh my God.
Hey!
All right.
Okay.
Break it up.
Okay. What is this position?
Break it up.
I don't care about the show. I don't care
Break it up.
about the cameras.
Break it up.
Fuck me. Don't fuck me.
Yo! What he doing?
What the fuck?
All right.
I don't even think this is PG.
Girls like that, cause what the fuck was that? Oh my God. What the fuck was that? Nah, you was getting fucked.
It was pretty much just having a full-blown just fucking right next to me, so. Oh well, it was fun.
All I see was fucking.
What's the song? We getting fucked tonight.
Hey, yo, you my baby now, bro. Hold my pocket. Hold my pocket.
Bro, I just want to put my dick in my
Anyhow.
You my sweet bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
My sweet bitch.
Hey, guys.
My reaction to the boys beefing over me was, it was hot at first, but it turned kind of feminine because it's like, bro, nobody actually stepped up for my honor. They actually started fucking each other.
Girl, fuck you.
I just want to make it known.
Are you breathing that? God, you're breathing so much. You just fucked me, and now you're breathing like a damn cow. Holy shit. You fucked the shit out of me.
Pinky, I just want you to know that showed none of my skills. It was about dominance. That was it.
I don't know what that was.
I'm not trying to be a weirdo, but Pinky's ass was just like, when I see Shorty bounce, like when she walk, that shit just bounce like basketballs, bro. I be knowing God is real, man. Bro, she think it's cold oatmeal, son. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, she got a fat ass.
As fat as a motherfucker. Physical dominance.
Bro, I'm gonna piss right here.
My dominance.
Now that all the contestants have met each other, I think this is gonna be their favorite part of the night. It's s'more night. Let's go.
S'mores!
Pull it out and put it in my mouth. Pull it out. Pull it out.
Scared. You're being really mysterious. I feel like you. Hey, yo, you were supposed.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they're here for the bitches. I think the niggas are here to fuck each other. I'm sorry. I'm seeing way too much gay shit, bro. Flag on the fucking play today, bro. These guys have way too much chemistry, bro. No, he's babying him, and he likes it. He likes it too much. Sorry.
Supposed to be my soldier.
Me?
What kind of man are you?
Holy
You said
Pinky.
yo-yo, but you were looking
Stop.
No, I was looking at
at you. I was looking at you. I was looking at
If you want, you can sit on my lap.
I usually don't go for fat men in particular, but if I had a gun to my head, I would probably pick the one with the pink hair because he looks like he has a good Spotify playlist.
Me and G-Mama are gonna go to O Block and find us a real man. Oh, because I don't know what all this is about.
I'm from O Block.
Fat niggas always dropping food.
I was feeling Diamond at first. I thought she was like kind of cute, but then like she started sitting on Kelly's lap and then saying this, then started sitting on what's his name, Yo-Yo's lap and everything like that. So I was like, yeah, nah.
You can't handle G-Mama.
I don't want G-Mama going near me, though. I don't let that girl go near me.
Why is that?
I mean, that's too much for me to handle, bro. Like, that's way too much. I can't handle all that. My shit ain't even that big for that.
G-Mama. It's too much. Okay. Fuck, marry, kill. The three on the couch right now.
I'm killing you. You're gonna kill me?
Fuck you. Okay, I'm kidding. And then,
There you go.
I'm marrying the white boy.
What a joke.
Oh, no,
Hey, but you're fucking him.
Y'all better convert him. Y'all better convert G-Mama. That's crazy.
G-Mama.
If anyone
I just don't want you to sit on my lap.
Who caught your eye the most and why?
The black dude, I don't remember his name though.
Yes, sir is.
Hey,
All right
boy.
there on mine.
Good luck, nigga.
Right there on my face.
Oh, no, that's right.
Yo, guys, can I have a snore?
Yeah, I'll make you one. I'll make you one. I'll
Nigga.
make you one.
Are you cheating on me?
Diamond? Yeah, because you're fake as fuck.
How am I fake as fuck?
You let him disrespect me. You let him disrespect me.
I didn't disrespect you.
So much.
What did I say that was disrespectful?
There is so much.
Well, you're over here
potential
flirting with
on
all
this
the
couch.
boys.
What do you mean? I'm trying to get to know everybody.
No,
Hey,
I
what's
don't
up?
know.
Hello.
You don't get to know
Stop, why
anybody.
are you being jealous?
With me, you
Why
don't
are
get to know
jealous?
anybody.
Why
That's
are
how I
you
get with my
jealous?
relationships. You don't get to know nobody. Only me. Only me and only me. Oh, whoa, what's going on here?
Things are happening.
What the hell is going on here, David?
Bro.
Pete, you feel very uncomfortable. If you want, you can sit next to me.
I'm stuck in the couch.
Why are you blushing?
Are you stuck? Shorty, you ain't gotta be stuck.
Pull her
You can
out.
If you wanna come on.
Pull her out.
Thank you. What's going on there?
I'm great at the pull out, you know?
I know you be taking
that's not my thing.
That's not. Oh, that's not.
You be slaying up.
I am a great girlfriend. I am an amazing cook. I am great at playing mommy. I can be your personal peace star in the bedroom.
Oh, shit.
All right, I guess you're gonna teach me about your thing later, huh?
Don't make me regret bringing her.
What you mean, Peach?
He's happy to.
Yo! Like, what the fuck?
Now it's the perfect example of why fat men don't get women, right? We have one beautiful woman. What up with you? We got three other beautiful women right here. And these three dudes is talking about putting stuff on each other.
Yeah, like, all three of you niggas are not doing nothing, bro. It's 4 hoes over here, man, and none of y'all niggas applying pressure. Y'all just sitting here eating s'mores. Fat nigga, do some shit, bro. Like, come on, bro.
This mouth. When did I say anything? What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
we didn't say nothing.
There was a bunch of women sitting here and they were all talking about sucking each other's dicks. Like, jeez, oh my God. That's Puff Daddy, you feel me? I be with the baby oil and all of that, you know?
Show me the baby oil.
You want to see it? Take the fucking smart. I'm gonna show you right
What happened?
You tested with her.
Bring it up, bring it up.
I was gonna share it with her.
I hope you all enjoyed your pizza and your s'mores.
Yum.
And I hope you guys enjoyed your first impressions of each other because this is going to be one hell of a game show. I hope you guys can find love. We're going to end it for tonight. So wake up early and be prepared to couple up and find your new couple.
Yeah, let's make love.
Caleb, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I feel like we already coupled up. Am I right?
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
What the
I guess
hell?
we'll see tomorrow who gets coupled up.
I don't know what's in
Take
there.
a sip so we know it's real.
Don't do it. You don't know what's in there, girl.
Damn.
Diamond, you next.
I'll take this.
Mad pancakes, French toast bacon. Damn!
This is a feast! Oh my God! Wait, is this Tropicana? It's Tropicana?
Welcome to breakfast. It's probably cold, but we're still gonna fuck it up anyway, right? Yeah.
Hey, real quick. I I feel like as the head of the group, I just want to say.
Who made you the head of the group?
I made myself the head of the group. Take away my spot.
Drop the attitude with him.
Drop
the attitude. That's your man.
Please. Real quick, I just want to say I'm so glad for this experience. I'm so glad to be around each and every one of you. I love all of you guys already, bro. And let's get it. Let's have a great time. Will Kelly wins.
So when did you get diagnosed with torta fever?
It just happened one day. I just fell in love with a torta and then shit was just terminal. I couldn't let it go.
Another question. Did y'all fuck yet or no?
And I feel like you guys try to start beef with me and him because we're the most attractive in the house. No.
And the have you not met me or?
And the skinny.
Have you not? What?
That's actually.
Have you not met me?
Is that a chicken leg?
I thought I was attractive.
Yes,
Am I attractive? Am I attractive?
My man's skinnier than you and him. He's on a weight loss journey too.
Bigger the better for you.
I am on a weight loss journey.
Yeah, you is.
I'm on a weight loss journey too, bro.
You're skinnier than me.
How that taste?
It's a fucking grenade on the right, bro.
I like watching. I like watching.
I want to feed somebody.
I like watching you put things in your mouth.
I'm not sorry, bye.
Sure, man.
I'm gonna have a lot of sausages in my mouth later.
Open up.
Well, not a lot. Not a lot.
Shoot.
Not a lot. It'll be. Yeah.
I told you this nigga was bisexual, bro.
He admitted it.
How the fuck do you have butter on your stomach, bro? How the fuck do you have butter?
No, it's gravy. That's gravy. That's gravy.
That's even worse. That means your stomach somehow was on your plate.
What the fuck, bro?
You're so fat, your stomach hangs over your plate.
Are you
Wait, you're fat too.
No, I'm not. I'm just big bones.
You're a fucking watermelon.
Okay.
Bitches love watermelon. It's watermelon season.
Literally.
No, you know who loves watermelon?
Black people.
What?
I was just gonna point at him, but you actually said it.
Hey guys,
that's fucking racist.
Can I bring something up that bothered me? Like, for real?
Yeah, sure.
G Mama was saying the N-word last night. A lot of these
What?
white bitches take black dick and then suddenly they feel as if they have a place in the culture, but they really don't. They're barely black. You know, I really found that insulting. What about me is barely black? Because I don't follow a stereotype?
No, because your skin color.
I'm light skinned.
Yeah, but like compared to me to you, you're pretty much white.
If we talk culturally, I'm way blacker than you.
And first time I seen you on the internet, I really thought you were white. Like for a split second.
Bro, there is no way you thought I was white.
For a split second.
There was no way, bro.
Do not play with my man's heritage.
I
thought you were like Indian.
Hey, yo, Peachy, we talking about the host. You're not here for him. He has a girlfriend. You can pick between these two young men.
I think it's nice to be polite.
No, you don't.
I don't. We'll start being security. We don't give a fuck. Okay?
We're the only ones here being honest. We're the only ones here being. Me and her are the only ones here being honest.
You were saying, "Oh, Peachy, I really fuck with your vibe." Like
I do fuck with your vibe.
Well,
no, like that.
I know. You have attitude. It's condescending. Why don't we go around the table? What's y'all's problem with us?
Let's do it.
I feel like I get work.
I was going to speak on it, but I thought the same shit, bro. There is a very Can we
coming for us.
Wait, before we continue that, can we address the elephant?
Then why the fuck are you sitting right there and him not? You don't drink it? I'm not playing with any of you, so let's go around the table and see what's everybody's problem.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start
you got beef, address it.
I got a small penis.
We better
Okay. Alright.
It's America, man. We all accept for what we are. Wait, what? I have a small penis. He has a big penis.
Damn. Yeah, I know. It's well.
And he has average, and then you're small.
No, my shit's small too, bro. Yeah.
Oh, your shit's small?
No.
Oh, Diamond, come on.
It's okay.
My head is crazy, bro.
Oh, your head is crazy?
My head is crazy.
How do you be in it?
No, bro. I don't be in it.
So it's an issue. I actually had somebody do that once, and it sounded like bubbles. But you're an
It sounded like bubbles?
Yeah.
You want fun?
Damn. Like he was like blowing bubbles in my coochie.
That's really fucking
in front of her?
Yeah, what happened?
What
the fuck is that?
Bro, I'm so confused right now.
I'm sitting up here.
What do you saw it.
You talking about fucking.
She was flirting with me.
I'm about to get up off this table.
You
want to flirt with her? You can say don't flirt with her. He was flirting with her right in front of her face.
I was not flirting with her. You wilding right now.
Two can play that game.
No, bro. We don't.
You see, I don't be
okay, I don't want to fight with you because they're trying to see the.
They're trying to separate us. You see, they're trying to divide us.
Hey, stop flirting with him.
Pinky,
Stop.
Pinky,
stop.
I'm very loyal. Just letting you know now. Like I'm a lover boy.
Shut the fuck up, you're a fuck boy, dude.
Finish your meal. Finish your meal. I'm gonna be dismissing myself because there's just honestly like too much drama here, and I feel like everybody's coming.
You dropped your stomach in your drink.
We're talking about being rude, but you took all the sausages.
Because he's the king. He can take whatever the fuck he wants. Okay, he can take all right now. I've been saying couples fight. Why are you jealous?
When did y'all become a couple?
Yeah,
When did y'all
we are a couple.
So are you actually a super?
Yeah.
I think the girls are very intimidated of me in the house because I'm clearly the baddest bitch and the skinniest. So.
Are you actually a super slutty bitch? Like, is that what you are?
Yeah, maybe.
Are y'all a couple really?
Yeah.
We're together, son.
Okay, eat her ass right now. Eat her ass.
We haven't officially coupled
Eat her ass
up,
right
let's
now.
Save that.
See, but Peachy, that's what the fuck I be talking about, bro. It don't gotta be official. Why are you getting in between with
Bitch,
me
we're
and
going
her?
at the vibes. You need to go
Why
at the
are
vibes.
you getting in between with me and her?
That's why you're gonna remain single in this house. You're gonna remain single in this house. That's why
I'm supporting you guys kissing.
And nobody has to match me up with nobody. I'll match up with whoever I want to match up with. So I'm dismissing myself.
Hold on, guys.
Bitch, you're all dismissed.
I do have more pubic hair than any dude here.
Nobody gives a fuck. Okay, bitch, I'll dismiss you right now. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
Dismiss.
I love that.
Alright, you're a bad bitch. I kind of fuck with it. You a bad bitch.
You kind of turned me on.
She a bad. Yeah. I'm kind of hard right now.
Yeah.
What do I do?
It's a little trap.
Y'all see why that's
Please go away from me. Like, what?
Why, dude? Okay, everybody's just going for a diamond. Is that what's happening?
Might have to.
No one is going for fucking diamond. I'll beat somebody's ass here, bro. No one knows you. Stop. I'm the only star here. Stop. Hey, yo, she was right. She acted right idea, bro.
Did you just get canceled?
I'm not this bitch.
Can
I'm not this bitch.
Can I have the rest of your
Get that shit
food?
out my face, dog.
Can I have the rest of your food?
Yeah, eat that shit. And eat my dick, bitch.
That was a good breakfast. That was a spicy ass breakfast.
What if we get
Go to the pool. Shut up, Gordon!
A whole bunch of fucking grenades, bro. Like.
Bro, I'm talking all morning.
Huh? Bro, why didn't you talk? Which one you like?
I was talking to Peachy all morning.
You like Peachy?
There's up in Pokemon cards.
Oh shit, she got them titties, boy.
Yeah, that's true.
You like that shit?
Yeah.
Alright, bro, so you gonna try to, you know, when you see it today, drop that hint like, hey, mama, so when you gotta, when it's time to choose, you gotta choose. That's, you know what I'm saying? You gotta go for that shit.
I feel like Garbage was really nice, and he also joined on the compliment train, and that's really what I'm looking for. He also gave me 2 Pokemon card packs earlier, one that I opened earlier, and then one that I'm gonna open later. So I'm really excited about that.
Hey, bro, how about you, man? Zaya.
What's up, man?
What's up? Which girl you looking at? Which girl you feeling?
Pinky, but
You feeling pinky? I'm feeling pinky too, bro. You see that ass?
You said you feeling pinky. Wasn't you feeling freaking the other dick?
Hey, bro, don't dirty Mac. Don't dirty Mac. Bro, I feel everybody. You feel me? I love women.
Pinky's got some good vibes. I fuck
Pinky
with
got
her.
great, bro. Look at her take off her thing right now. I know we all looking at that shit. Come on now. Come on now.
I was looking at it when I walked in. I'm not
You
gonna
feel me, bro? And her name Pinky, and she only wear pink. You know what else is pink?
Bubblegum pink.
No, her vagina. Oh. I was referencing her vagina. Y'all some no bitches getting having ass niggas.
Nah, I get bitches, bro. I just don't. This will be the first time I ever fucked with a fat girl before.
Hey, yo, Pinky. That's your swimsuit? Yeah. Do a little twirl real quick.
There you go.
Oh, you look amazing. Bro, I think I'm gonna vote Shorty off so I can get with Pinky. We'll see. I think, bro, like, she cool and all, but she been a clingy and she's like, my man. Like, we've not even coupled up yet. Like, I did not know that was the vibe until she started saying that. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
And then she has like this weird, like, I don't know, bro. She's just a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell she's used to fucking with dark skin.
You're a lot. Not talking body wise. Talking about in general. You a lot.
Okay, then. You don't see how that could be a problem with the couple? Me being a lot, her being a lot. I see that being a toxic.
That was like a perfect duo.
Yeah, and that's my dog. I rock with. We can be friends. I'm just being honest with you guys, because like everything that's said is here stays here, correct?
Yeah.
Right? Everything that I'm saying here stays here.
Yeah.
All right, like don't be the weird dude going back to the bitches talking about what we're saying 1, 2, 3.
Well, I would never do that.
All right, that's why I'm saying it with that weird nigga. Yo-Yo's not here, bro. What y'all think about Yo-Yo? I think that nigga's young. I think he's immature, and I think he's doing way too much.
Way too much. He's too fat, man. He's definitely got some small dick energy.
It's also about you, bro. Can we stop talking about each other's dicks? Please. It's making me up. Bro, there's no bitches here. It's only us. We're not talking about each other's dicks. It's just us.
I mean, I said it, his energy, you know.
Yo, Tay, what's up, bro?
Yeah, but let's just refrain from the word dick.
Because I think the one with the pink hair might be trans.
Do I look trans? Fuck no.
Bro, you can't lie. My girl's the baddest one in the house.
What's it? Bro, it's pretty much fat people love Island, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
If you say so, man.
Next to Pinky, she's the baddest one in the house. Peachy's bad as hell. I think Peachy's so fucking sexy. I think Pinky is so fucking sexy. I think G Mama has a great personality. I'll just ask you guys this, bro. Can y'all please vote out the person you know I want to be, that I'm voting out? Could y'all do that for me?
Who's that person? Sam.
Diamond, can you please vote out Diamond? Sure, buddy. Yo, what's up? What's up with you, bro? I just said sure. Nah,
Bro, this
I don't like
bisexual
it. It's
nigga,
looking
about,
real
he be
snakish over
pissing me off, bro.
It's looking real fucking snakish, man. It's looking real snakish.
Please don't fuck with my head. Please don't fuck with my head. Please don't fuck with my head. Please don't fuck with my head.
What?
Please don't
Who you voting out?
Diamond.
Who you voting out?
Diamond, I got you.
One more time. Who the fuck you voting out?
I'm not Diamond.
I'm glad you fucking know it. Fuck.
You gotta add some,
Yo, get the fucking camera out my face, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to get voted off, though. Well, Kelly.
Let me holler at you, man. Huh? Let me holler at you. Just rolling around some man shit.
I got you.
Look, I think we should vote Diamond out today.
Oh no, we're definitely getting that bitch out.
Yeah, bro. She's doing way too much and she's hurting my game at this point. She's hurting my game at this point, bro. So I'm saying, let's get Diamond out. And let's be honest, bro. Me and you are the only ones that are really talking to the women.
Yeah.
These other dudes are, bro. So like,
Look at them. Just look at them.
Look at them, bro. Literally.
They scared of hoes.
Look, bro. Which one you want? You want Peachy, right?
Oh yeah, I would want Peach. Or
all right.
To be honest,
I want Pinky.
You want Pinky?
So you go for we're gonna get Diamond out. We're gonna get one of those dudes out, and then he can have whatever that one girl's name is, and you go for and then we set it up. We do a 2-man, right? Mm-hmm. You go for Peach, and I go for Diamond.
And then Z will go for
Who cares what Z's doing? Where you need to get paddle to?
all the way to the middle of the pool, the deep end.
Is it a 2-person job, you think?
I don't think so. I got you.
Wait, do you think?
Hold up, grab my hands.
You can pull me out there, yo-yo.
No, get the hell away from me. Get the hell.
Yo-yo.
Oh, get on this though, right here.
Take me to the deep end with you.
Peach, she slept in my bedroom last night, and she slept in my bed last night. I'm gonna be honest, I sucked her toes. I sucked her toes. But it's a one-time thing. It was just one thing led to another. She was rubbing her feet with my feet, and then she started bringing it up, and then...
I think my favorite part was whenever he tried to pull the old, like, stretch move, and I accidentally laid back into it, and he was like, oh, we can cuddle if you want to. And I just put on my headphones with my rain noise, and I was like, oh, you're so funny.
Fuck y'all, look at that, bro. Mind your business, jeez. I think I need somebody who's a little softer.
A little softer?
Somebody who's just a little softer, you know what I mean?
I think I'm definitely in my soft girl era, so.
I want to be there with you, you know what I'm saying? I want you to pull, I mean, you make me the opposite of soft, if I'm going to be honest with you. But I'm just being real.
I'm paddling away.
No. Hold on. Stay. When it's time to choose, like, who to couple up with or whatever, just keep me in mind. That's all I'm asking.
All right.
Is that okay?
Okay. I'll keep you in mind for sure. I'm off.
All right. You see that? That's smooth shit. That's real.
That's how big niggas talk.
You see these other fat boys don't know how to do that shit? Watch me bitch them right now just to exert dominance. I need one to paddle. Which one you got? You donut?
I don't want to get my
Oh shit.
America's fucked. We're all fucked. And we're all getting fucked.
I ain't gonna lie, that little Latina shit can get it.
I know, I'm not even fat, to be honest, right?
Yeah, I've had probably 30 or 40 tattoo artists. That
You look like
three tattoos.
the Little Mermaid, just like a different version of Little Mermaid.
Big Mermaid.
No, you know what I'm saying? Cause like the
Someone did this in their
aqua
basement.
bra. Look at the bra. It's aqua, like aqua color.
Green.
Like greenish. You know what I'm saying? Like greenish, bluish, like water,
Actually, it's actually a
ocean.
bathing suit top,
Like
but it does look like a
ocean,
bra, yeah.
like an ocean type of water. So,
say so.
to be respectful, you want to see the Big Mermaid or
I don't really care.
Big Mermaid?
It doesn't matter to me.
Dorothy Mermaid.
Welcome to the first couple up on Love on the Scale. As always, ladies go first. We're gonna pick their name from a hat, and then the ladies get to choose which guy they want. First up, we have Peachy.
Yay!
You get to go first. Peachy, which guy would you like to pick as your first couple?
So I'm choosing this person because he seems really trainable, and I really feel like I'm in my simp era where I just want a simp that's gonna do like the chores and like be sweet and just like take care of everything so I can turn my brain off. So for that reason, I'm choosing Yo-Yo.
Yo-Yo!
I'm that man, you know what I'm saying? I'm that man, what is that?
Like, yeah.
I feel great about my man. He, like I said, he seems really trainable.
I'm in love with her, to be honest. I want to marry her.
He keeps complimenting me, and I really like feed off of that.
I have 3 or 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and then we're also talking about pushing 1 kid whenever they turn 18.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like she gonna put like a butt plug in his ass too. Real shit, bro. He just give off them vibes, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
We're gonna push them to be gay. So we have 1 gay kid, one good son, and then 2 thought daughters. Thank you. Yeah, let's make out. No, we're not gonna make out. All right, let's go.
You
Maybe
guys
if you're a good boy.
Oh shit. Okay.
Maybe
guys
if
can
you're
go
a
sit
good
by
boy,
the
it's
fire.
crazy.
Next person up. We have Gianna. Gianna,
My
which guy would you like to choose?
The black one.
The black one?
Zaire! Heck yeah.
I think he's really sweet. He doesn't talk a lot, so I need to get him out of the show. I think I can do that. But he seems pretty cool. Like,
It's a
respectful.
fucking grenade, bro.
I think it will go well.
She like dipping in the chocolate. Shit, I'm ready to swim.
Go over there and sit down as a couple.
Yeah, she moving like Mike
Next up,
Wazowski.
we have Diamond. All right,
I'm
Diamond.
gonna choose Big Daddy right here.
Okay. So that means pink. Oh, wow.
That's a real man.
All right.
So skinny.
Diamond looks good. She's pretty and all of that. But I was hoping for Pinky.
Honestly, I don't remember anyone's name, so if I had the first pick, I mean, I don't think I would choose any different.
There are no other connections to explore. It's me and Pinky. That's what it was supposed to be, all right? This whole time, that's what it was supposed to be, bro. Do you see her ass? Have you seen her ass?
Yeah, it's...
Her shit is, and I just want to,
So that leaves our last chosen, Pink and Garb.
The best couple right here.
She looks fluffy.
Let's go.
Where are we sitting?
Actually, I wanted to pick Garb. He was my first choice.
Really?
Pinky is who I wanted from the start, so Loki worked out perfect.
Really?
Now that you guys are coupled up, I hope you guys
And
are
she's
happy
sitting
with
on
your
that
couple.
nigga.
Get to know each other, because this game show gets pretty crazy.
Let's go. Yay! Yes! I love my new man.
Yeah, that's all
he's
I
a
can
boy,
hear.
and that's why you chose
That's
him.
why.
He is a boy, and that's why you chose him. You are in your 30s. He is 20 years old. This is predatory.
Now that you guys are all coupled up, I thought it would be awesome to have your first date all together. You're sitting across from your couples. Special dinner for you guys. My specialty, spaghetti tacos. Yeah.
Who the fuck eating that shit?
Yep. It's from one of my favorite shows, iCarly. I'm just gonna show you guys how to do it. You just grab a taco shell here. You grab this spoon right here.
That's squelching.
And you just grab it and you just put it in there like that.
Whenever you mix it, it sounds like pussy.
Thank you. And then you just fucking eat that shit.
Hell yeah.
Everybody's their gym.
Hurry up, please.
We gotta use it over here first, buddy.
I was making one, but it broke.
Just make it for me. Thank you,
Two
bro.
big bowls here, like one
I gotta load this plate up. Here we go.
She seems like a good wife.
Yeah. Hey, yo,
A child wife.
bitch. Oh my god.
To be honest,
To
be honest, even though you're my couple, I don't mind. Like you can go with the other girl. I don't mind. I get your one.
Bro, you weren't insulted about what she was saying about you? Like, when she chose you? About how you're
I'm a simp. I'm a simp. Yeah, hell yeah. I'm a treat my woman good.
He's a good, handsome young man.
Bro,
let me on the leash.
Ask him to bark right now.
No, I want to ask him to meow.
Ask him meow.
Because she thinks you're a pussy. Like, meow like
No,
a
I
pussy.
have cats.
Because she prefers cats over dogs.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, say meow.
Fuck, I don't even want to. Okay,
Meow.
Cute.
Yep.
This is what I was talking about in my professional.
What?
No,
Mommy
it don't matter.
Don't do all this simp shit at the dinner table.
No, literally.
It's like making me queasy.
It's making everybody queasy.
It's making you queasy?
Yeah, it's making me queasy.
It's making you
Queasy.
Can we get some spaghetti down here?
Yeah, can we get some spaghetti?
Guys, can you calm down?
Come take this spaghetti. Why do you all act like bitches?
Oh my God.
Why? Go get the spaghetti.
Oh, you're white.
Go get the spaghetti.
Yeah,
you don't try to like that.
These fat bitches make me sick. All of them, bro. Like, I understand fucking with fat bitches, but they pick the worst type of fat bitches, bro. These the fat bitches I would never pick, bro. I'm sorry. Never. Not one of them in this building. And then after looking at the Latino one, she talking about she want a nigga to train? What? Gotta go, bro. They got the worst build. I know it's some BBWs that got like a body, bro. The only one that kind of technically has a body is Pinky, but she's too far gone, chat. Like, she's overly too big, bro. She's like that wasted white woman, you know what I'm saying, that peaked when she was like 20 and 21. But after she done had like 3 to 5 kids, bro, it's already over. Downhill, bro. Her belly got too big. Ass still fat as fuck, though. Only niggas that's gonna be hitting her are probably niggas that's like 19 or 55. You feel me? I wouldn't hit Pinky not a day in my life, bro. Not in that build. And the Latino one, maybe I would, but then at the same time, though, like, her thought process just really be killing me. This one in the middle, the white bitch with the yellow hair and the pink highlights, the one that got the SSB shirt. No, never. You could never eat my dick. And the last one, never. Nunca. You could never touch my shit. You could never touch my dick, bitch.
Huh?
What'd you take earlier?
Nothing.
What'd you take?
Nothing. What do you mean, what did I take?
What did you take?
What the fuck you take?
What did you take?
You took some fucking estrogen. That's what you took, because you
Why you acting like you black?
You act like a bitch. You're acting just like him. You're bumping shoulders with him. Acting like him. You're more feminine than this one and that one. I'm sorry about iCarly. Who gives a fuck about iCarly? Fuck iCarly.
Shuddy, we're done. Don't you dare talk about iCarly like that!
What the
Get
fuck?
your mouth shut about iCarly! iCarly is our Lord and Savior! Shut your mouth! Control your woman! She's not mine. Control your woman! She's not mine, bro. I'm done with her. I'm done.
I never seen this nigga act like that. Oh, nigga, where was this the whole show, bro? I was waiting for this nigga to turn up. And the moment he turned up was on the fat white bitch? Damn, what the fuck? I'm not gonna lie. I like that. I like that from you, my guy. I do. But you need to take this pressure that you're applying and apply it to the other fat, light-skinned nigga, bro. Because he was really ball hogging your shit the whole show.
Breath, that's what you got.
You know what hot blood on out here flavor in there? What you talking about? You want to start something? You want to start something? You want to start something?
That nigga look like Chibu.
Can you imagine? Everyone starts playing in spaghetti.
Are you going to do something as a man?
You disrespecting me.
Black Lives Matter.
I'm not doing nothing to you.
You know what? Has been disrespecting me. You know what?
Bye.
You know what? You know
Bye.
what?
Bye.
I don't fuck with you because you're
Bye. Bye,
I don't fuck with you because
Bye,
you
bitch.
let me. I don't fuck with you because you're letting me treat you. You're letting them treat me like this. What do you mean, bye?
Bye.
See the difference between me and you?
Go.
I don't need to go. I don't need to go.
I'm not even tripping about it. I'm not even tripping about it. I'm not even tripping.
And these fucking tacos, they suck. You didn't put sugar in the sauce.
Nobody's eating
it.
Oh,
You use ragu. Who the fuck uses ragu with no seasoning? Sugar. You didn't season the fucking ground beef. Who the fuck doesn't season the ground beef?
My bad. I tried.
Disgusting. He's white. You should have
Every set is made in an Airbnb. Come on, man. They just picked the worst one.
You should ask me for some fucking help. It doesn't matter what I do, where I go, because guess what? I'm gonna get out of here. 100+ matches on Tinder. You're gonna get out of here. Sad.
Sure.
You know what would turn this shit up? This love on the scale shit. They should have like a thing where they bring in skinny people. You know what I'm saying? Like bringing skinny people, see if they would mingle with skinny people. Like bringing skinny boys, skinny girls. Excuse me, and just mix this whole show up. And whoever stays, and whoever goes, on some real nigga shit.
Probably not even. Not to be rude.
She's tripping. These tacos are busting.
Not to be rude, but what? Pipe down. Pipe down. No, I need some dick is you.
I don't want that.
Yeah, buddy boy.
I don't want that.
The only time you get excited is when his fat roll is touching you.
I'm not mad.
At the end of the day,
I'm not mad
we're
at
gay.
all.
Question
I'm not
name.
mad at it.
Maybe transgender.
Me? What is what?
You know why she mad? She mad because she couldn't get no dick. And she said when she came here, she was horny and she wanted to fuck on somebody. And nobody wanted to fuck on her big ass yet. So I can't get mad at her. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of the guys that actually applied pressure, I thought I was going to see some smooth shit from the fat niggas. And none of these niggas was smooth, bro. Everybody was at the pussy, bro. I never seen niggas that didn't want to apply pressure to hoes. These are the hoes that's offered to you. You don't want not one of them. I know not all of them are great, but you got to be reasonable. Everybody here's fat. Not one of y'all niggas look good, except for the Latino one. And that's probably the one that I'd really hit. You know what I'm saying? But out of everybody else, fuck no. Wouldn't fuck none of y'all.
But I was too good for the show anyway. So they lost the star of the show. Caleb, you lost the star of the show.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm leaving because you lost the star of the show.
Why? What's up?
You should have seasoned the fucking ground beef and the taco. Who the fuck eats spaghetti with no seasoning on the ground beef? You're treating me like a fucking animal. I've been on Dr. Phil. I was on Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil. Catfish. Okay? Famous birthdays. Do you think Dr. Phil would give me fucking unseasoned ground beef? No, they put me at the Roosevelt. They season everything at the fucking Roosevelt. I should have room service, okay? Room service. I deserve room service.
Come on, let's go.
Nah,
Okay?
You don't have to leave, though.
I'm leaving. I'm scared.
Let's go. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're taking the cooler, too?
We'll just say at it.
Oh, man.
They fed me fucking unseasoned spaghetti.
Okay, it was good spaghetti.
Unseasoned spaghetti. Bro, I'm not gonna be treated like a peasant.
Let's go.
Dr. Phil. I've been on Dr. Phil.
Come on. Get out the fuck out of the way.
Yo! No fucking way. Bro, what are you, I mean, dude, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I honestly didn't think she was gonna leave.
She going now, nigga.
So all the results are in. The ladies have chosen one person to vote off.
I voted this person off because they're cringy as fuck.
Hinders genuine connections whenever you're too busy rage baiting girls.
You're about to suck dick tonight.
So obviously Will Kelly is going home. Okay, this show about to be dog shit.
And that contestant is, sadly,